Hello and welcome to EE447. I'm your instructor, Gregory Myers. In this video, we're going to take another look at our lists, both our unordered and our ordered lists. This time, however, we're going to do some nesting of our lists. We're going to use purely HTML, no style sheets yet. And so to begin with, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and create a new file, HTML page. And if you've noticed, I've already gotten our previous example up because what we're going to do is we're going to leverage some of the code that we already have in this one. So I'm going to go ahead and split these so we can see these side by side. And once again, split our screen between the design and the source. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to start off with the unordered list. And so my goal here is I'd like to create a nested unordered list. And for the example, or for the data, if you would, for this one, what I'd like to do is once again use our course catalog. And this time what I'd like to do is I'd like to focus on some of the prerequisites. Now, we're not going to do all of them. We're just going to do a couple of them. And once you see the pattern, then you'll see where I'm going with this. So what I'd like to do is I'd actually like to leverage our second example. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start off by creating an unordered list. And inside that unordered list is going to be a list item, so a LI tag. And then inside of that list item, we are going to put a couple of elements. Last time what we had our A tag or hyperlink. So we're going to continue with that. But then what we want to also have is underneath each one of the list items, we want to go ahead and have another list. So to do this, you'll find that there's actually several ways that we can accomplish having these nested unordered lists. If we wish to include a URL and a nested unordered list, we can actually use a paragraph tag to group them to create a certain effect, or we can just simply have multiple elements in a linked in a list item. So to begin with, to see what I'm talking about, we're going to start with the same hyperlink tag that we had, the same A tag that we had earlier. As a matter of fact, you can either type it with me or you can just simply copy it from the other document. In this case, I'm just going to do this piecemeal here. So we're going to start off with 233. And the description for 233 is going to go in between the A tags. And then what we're going to do is we're going to follow this up. Then we'll go ahead and minimize this side so we can see it. And then what we're going to do is then we're going to follow this up with another unordered list. And inside, what we want to do is we want to specify the prerequisites. And so we'll go back here to the course catalog page. We can select the individual courses, or we can employ the same trick that we saw earlier and just simply change the parameter that's being passed to the search. And so in this case, I'm just going to specify MA, and remember that the code for the space is going to be %20. And if you take a look at the prerequisite for EE233, it's going to be MA106 or MA107. So we're just going to pick one once again, just so we can get the hang of this. And you'll see there we have the search result for the pre-calculus of trigonometry. All right. And so what we're going to do is we're going to copy that URL. We're going to go back to our Visual Studio. We're going to create another list item. We are going to go ahead and make this into another href tag, and we're going to paste the search, the URL that corresponds to the search results. And then in between the A tag, we're just going to simply give the name of the course. So it's going to be MA 106. For this example, I am going to go ahead and continue with the syntax, or essentially the description from the course catalog, and we're going to include an OR MA 107. Now that's probably where we're going to stop with this one. And what we can do here is, now that we've seen the pattern, we can actually just simply copy and paste this entire hyperlink, and now we know what needs to be changed, so we don't have to bounce back and forth. So we're just going to change the 106 to 107, and then we can go ahead and save that. And this example, we're going to call example underscore list 02. And then you'll see that now we have both text and hyperlinks mixed together, all within a list item. And if we come back here once again to our course catalog, you'll see there's another OR for 125 or 225, and you can see where you can just I'm sorry, for 233, you can see where you would just continue that on. And then what we're going to do is then we're going to jump down to the other prerequisite, which is going to be BME 150 or EGR 150. BME 150 is no longer active, the EGR 150 is. And so what we can do is, once again, we can sort of tweak the search engine since we know the pattern. So it's EGR space and then 150. And then sure enough, there we get our results here. It's computer methods and engineering. And so we can come back here to Visual Studio. For this, what I'd like to do is I'd like to create another list item with another hyperlink. And for that hyperlink, we're going to put in the results for EGR 150. And simply the friendly text is going to be EGR 150. We're not going to worry about that alternative prerequisite. Then if we save that, you'll see then these become items, nested items in your first linked list. Do you notice by default, you see the outer one has the black circle and the inner ones have the open circle or filled circle and empty circle, however you want to look at it. And then we can continue on with this. Now, you've got a couple of options as far as how you can go about doing this. Like I said, you can also go ahead and group this entire thing within a P tag, just so you can see sort of the difference in behavior. We're going to go ahead and do that. This is once again putting the P tag within the list item. And you'll see here that the UL cannot be nested within the P tag. Okay, so there are going to be some restrictions about how you're going to be able to do this. So you're going to want to play around with this just a little bit to see. And with a good IDE, you should get warning with the validation. So in this particular case, putting the entire thing into a P tag isn't feasible. However, what you could do instead is you can actually put just the hyperlink within the P tag. And then what you would do here is you could specify a line break, and then underneath this, then you could put a header, if you would. Perhaps we don't want the top header, but what you could do then is, for instance, you could specify, actually a H tag is not going to go in here. What we would do is, in this case, we would just use text. And so in this case, what we would do is we would just spell out the word prerequisite. So what you're going to see here is that there are going to be some order of the tags that you have to pay attention to. And so in this case, there's going to be a little bit, P tags are essentially restricted to text, formatted text. And so you can decide if you want to go about doing it that way, or what you can also do is you can move this portion out, put this now inside the list item directly, and you can see then how that would change the appearance. All right. Now, for this simple example, it's probably better just to go ahead and leave everything in the list item itself, just easier to duplicate. Looks a little cleaner, gives no description though. Once again, the focus is not on the appearance, it's more on the structure for these examples. All right, and so we want to continue on with the other two list items that we have. So we want to generate a nested list then for our E333. And we want to look then at the prerequisites for that course. And at this point, hopefully you can start seeing the pattern. And we can sort of just cheat, if you would, a little bit here. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to come over. We're going to borrow the text from the hyperlink as well as the hyperlink itself. So 333. One of the prerequisites, of course, for 333 is 233. You can check the course catalog for others. Now notice here I have accidentally left off my list item tag, and Visual Studio was giving me a warning on this one. So you can't put an element directly inside of a unordered list tag. You actually have to have the list item. And then the third one, of course, is going to be our course EE447, which at this point, hopefully you can see the pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over and grab the hyperlink for the course, and I'm going to follow that up with another unordered list. And one of the prerequisites for our course is course 233. And so what we can actually do is we can just borrow the same code from the 333 example. All right, and there you go. Now you've got a hyperlinked version along with the description of each one of these courses. To keep consistent with the MA 106 and 107, you could optionally go ahead and remove the title from the course if you wish. Okay. So now that gets us through our unordered list nested example. Now what we'd like to do is we'd like to take a look at a ordered list example that's also nested. So I'm going to start off with an ordered list or an OL tag. The approach is going to be relatively similar. I'm going to have list items within each one of the ordered lists. So I'll start off with a list item. And then the list item to begin with, I'm not going to hyperlink this one. I'm just going to simply use text. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of think of this as breaking down the topics in this course. I'm just going to focus on a few of the topics. But one of the main topics, or one of the beginning topics is history of the web. And so we're going to put that in the list itself. And so you can see how that would be displayed. The default is going to be 1, numeric. Default's going to be numeric. We can go back and change that. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to list the topics under history of the web. And so what we want to do now is we want to create another ordered list. And what we're going to do is we're going to explicitly set the type of the outer list to 1. Okay, so this time around we're going to explicitly state it, although it would have still accomplished the same thing. And then for the inner one, what we want to do is using the type attribute, we're going to go ahead and change this one to capital letter A, just so that we can see how this would work. And then what you can do is you can just insert some list items here under some of the topics we've already covered. We're going to just talk about client server. What is HTTP or what is HTML? what is the HTTP protocol. And on. Okay, so that's going to get us our first topic, and you can see how I've got nested ordered list where I've specified then the type of indexing, if you would, that I'd like, or the type of marker that I would like. All right, so continuing on with that, then what I need to do is I need to add another list item to my external ordered list. And for the second topic is, we're going to call this one HTML, or maybe let's call this, HTML syntax. That sounds good. It's kind of what we're working on right now. And then inside of there, then we're going to have an OL, another ordered list. And we can just go through some of examples here, paragraphs and text. How about if we have one on tables, kind of rather meta here, but we might as well include the one on lists because that's what we're working on right now. And then from there, we want to make sure that this also specifies the type of markers we want here. Okay, so in this case, now we've got topic number 1, history of the web, topic number 2, HTML syntax, and so on. And then just to complete the trilogy here, I guess you could say, or where we currently stand, we're going to add one more list item, and that's going to be CSS syntax. And for the ordered list, the inner nested order list, we're going to once again have the type as alphabetic, and inside we'll have intro to style, and how about where to put it, and then advanced CSS. So that seems pretty reasonable there. And so now you can see what we have here is effectively the beginnings of a table of contents. Now keep in mind, I've given you 2 different examples here. They're not meant to indicate the differences, but rather hopefully you can see some of the similarities in that you can actually hyperlink inside of a ordered list. So that means that all of these topics that we have listed, for instance, under history of the web, you can actually maybe link to external references like Wikipedia. Keep in mind also that essentially I'm still separating the style from the structure, okay? Because even though our ordered list has 1s, 1, 2, and 3 numeric for the outer list and alphabetic for the inner list, is that that's still sort of structural. All right, and so what we'll do in the next video is we'll start to look at some of the aesthetics associated with our linked lists. Hopefully you found this video useful. If you've got any comments or questions, don't hesitate to let me know. Thank you very much.